Next item on the workshop is an update on the Norway Savings Bank Arena. We have our staff out back. Come on up.
Good evening, it's kind of loud. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and the Council. We'll just pull up the slideshow here. What we've done is we've got a slideshow to kind of show some steps that we're doing to hopefully curb the shortfall in the budget, and I'll kind of explain each slide in greater detail, and then we'll answer any questions you have on it. So slide one is what we call gap control, measures we're taking to shorten the budget gap that's in fiscal year 15. In this upcoming July, we plan to review a full year of actual operating expenses and revenue. After thorough review, we will conduct an extensive self-evaluation to see if any cost-saving cuts can be made to our operational expenses without sacrificing quality. As outlined in our business plan, by creating a balanced ice schedule, the arena can provide skating opportunities while generating revenue throughout the peak and shoulder seasons. This will effectively provide a steady flow of income for the facility in efforts to close the budget shortfall. We have learned from this past season where we were lacking in public offerings. We have made a conscious decision to maintain our public skating and shinny hockey offerings while creating additional times during holidays, school vacations, and teacher workshops. The creation of additional programming and the discussion of bringing in a full-time figure skating club will also increase public opportunities and create additional revenue. We've also introduced a new rate increase that will take effect on July 1st, 2015, and we are estimating an additional $33,000 plus of revenue to be added. This was done in efforts to help control operating costs while maintaining affordable ice rental rates. The increase will change from $225 an hour to $235 an hour. On sponsorships, we're working closely with the city manager to develop a position that will provide much needed assistance in selling new sponsorships while maintaining our existing sponsors. This will allow arena management to work on improving day-to-day operations, programming, scheduling, and other areas of concern. The other items of importance that we are looking to accomplish is the filling of an advisory board. We have already spoken with several prospective individuals and are looking to complete that soon. The bar graphs that we've put up there, basically they reflect the contracts that are due in each fiscal year, the renewals that are up for renewal, and then our goal is to hit a 90% renewal rate. So each bar reflects that. And if we hit our numbers, we're projecting $230,000 to $240,000 in sponsorships for fiscal year 16. Programming, we have created and implemented 5 new developmental camps, a 3x3 program, and a new Learn to Skate program. The numbers on this chart reflect the potential this type of programming can bring to an arena. We hope to achieve these projections in 2 to 5 years through continued growth. As you can see from the chart, this programming can generate an additional $130,000 in overall revenue and utilize ice that may go unused. As the participation in our in-house programming grows, revenue generated will also assist in closing the budget gap. Arena programming is another tool and offering that helps to support the facility while providing new opportunities to the community. Additionally, we are reworking the peak season schedule in an attempt to add 2 new high school teams as a full-time tenant and bring a year-round figure skating club to the arena. And lastly, to kind of update you on the tournaments, after the Lions tournament concluded, we entered into a 5-week stretch of new tournaments. During this time frame, the arena hosted the Maine High School Class A and B Winter Classic Senior All-Star Games, where all proceeds were to benefit the Barbara Bush Children's Hospital. The event was an overall success, and plans are in place to bring the Winter Classic back annually, and I just confirmed that today. We've already booked for next year. This is a testament to the quality of the facility and the willingness of Jason and his staff to go above and beyond to ensure a great experience for all guests. We have also gained valuable insight into how these events have impacted surrounding businesses, hotels, and restaurants, thanks to the hard work of the Economic Development Department. Restaurants and retail have seen a significant increase in business during this time frame. We are introducing 2 new tournaments this fall and are hoping to have them well received. These tournaments will aid in filling 2 weekends of ice and bring new patrons into restaurants and businesses. To assist further, we have developed a dining guide for our visitors that highlights our sponsor restaurants with map locations and includes additional restaurant options. In closing, we also want to add that we received a visit from a store manager of a national retailer this afternoon that wants to advertise in the arena due to the increase in business they have seen over the past few weeks. So, open it up to any questions you guys may have.
Go ahead, you start.
Can you walk me through, I'm not fully understanding this bar graph. So I think I understand that the green line is those that are under contract through those particular years. Some of them have multi-year contracts, some of them
Correct.
have lesser years on those multi-year contracts. The blue line is still a component of the green line, so they would be under contract in that year, or they are not under contract for that year, they would be coming up for contract.
Yeah, they're currently under contract now, and those expire in June 31st. So those are up for renewal.
So, well, I mean, there's multiple years here. So the blue line is the contract, it's not included in the green line for that year.
That is correct. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. Yep.
And the gray line is prospectively what we would get if we were to get 90% renewal?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I see that you have set a goal of $230,000 to $240,000 for 2016. You're presently for under contracts at 141. If you were to get the 90% renewal, you'd add 28,665 to that?
No, the gray for that would be for fiscal year 17. The 85,950 that you see on January 15 is what would be added to fiscal year 16. Those are the ones that are coming due.
Okay.
So they carry over to the following year, so you would take the gray and add it to the green, and that would shoot us up to the 230, 240.
I got you. So it's basing it on that 90% calculation
Correct.
from the prior year that you come up with the 230 to 240,000.
Yes, correct.
And prospectively, I mean, do you think that's a reasonable goal?
Yes, all the feedback we've been getting is all positive. We had a lot of verbals. I've spoken to a couple new, not new, but ones that are up for renewal. They do want to renew. They haven't signed the contract yet, but we went over the spot in the ice and a spot on the wall, and so hopefully these contracts will start coming in the near future, but we're already starting to receive positive feedback on renewals.
And so now understanding the math of that 230 to 240,000 doesn't necessarily take into account additional non-accounted for?
Exactly.
potential
This is what we know of as of right now. Obviously, we're hoping to add new ones, but this is what we're working with that was existing.
So 230 to 240 is the conservative goal. You think you could probably exceed that?
I think there's potential to exceed that, absolutely.
I might have additional questions.
Yep.
Yeah, I've spent quite a lot of time up there in the last month or so, and I have seen a great job and a lot of people, and I think things are starting to really kick in and take off, and I think you guys have done a heck of a job. And I'm not throwing this out at you as a disappointment or don't take it in a bad way, whatever you do, but the weekends that I'm up there and that your assistant isn't working, for instance, there's no one that these people can go to get questions answered. And of course, so many people know me when I'm standing around, they'll come up to me and ask me questions, and I tell them that in most cases I can't answer it because I don't, I don't know your business because I'm not up there to find out what you're doing or how you're doing it, so I tell them to come back on Mondays in your regular working hours. I just find that that's a big void up there. You're not there, and your assistant's not there, and I think to myself, maybe, and again, I'm not telling you how to do your job, but if you could stagger it so sometimes on the weekend, you're there and maybe not on a Tuesday, or you're there on a Saturday and not a Wednesday, something like that, that, especially in these type of tournaments, you had so many people coming from out of town, and they were told a lot of things from a lot of people that they didn't have the questions answered correctly. They thought that it was going to be easy to do this, that, and whatever, and they just didn't get the answers. And I definitely didn't want to send them to your gentleman that rides the ice surfacing machine, because I didn't know who the real people are, other than I said, you may want to ask the concessionaire because he's here when you people are there, and he probably has better answers than I could give anybody. But not only that, I think you would have learned a lot from some, and you may already know this, but some motels were overbooking here, so now they were sending them all the way back to Portland because their houses were full here, so they wanted them to go there after they have already drove from Boston to here, and they're tired, and it was 8:30 at night, and because the games were a half hour later than they should have been because of whatever reasons that pushed them later. And now they wouldn't be done before 10:30, and they got to drive back to Portland. And they were already tired from the long drive. Their booking was incorrect, so they were upset about their motel. I know you can't do anything about that, but these things you would have heard instead of me hearing it, just standing there listening to people talk about their things that upset them. And the arena itself, they were happy with everything that you had put in place and that they found. But it was these little hooks that, mess things up in the middle. So I just wanted you to know, if there's a way that you can maybe fix this, I don't know, maybe there's an information guy that could be put into place somewhere along the way there, whatever it is, but I'm sure you can take care of it.
Yeah, no, we will, thank you.
Thank you. I just have a couple of questions that came up. We are seeing some improvement in the financial reports the last couple of months. So originally you forecasted an over $300,000 gap for year end. I assume that's reduced. I wondered if you could give us an estimate of what you're expecting the gap on June 30th to be?
Yeah, we're actually hoping to come in under 300,000. Everything has been positive so far. April and May are looking pretty quiet at the arena. Those are usually the toughest months. But we're working on a figure skating club, and if we can make that happen, that will help. But yeah, we're hopefully have reduced it to under 300,000.
Good, thank you. The question on the $10 an hour rate increase on July 1st, how does that compare to other arenas that are within commutable distance to us? I know that when we were looking at another project, the repurposing, we were very careful to put our rates lower.
Southern Maine is basically $225. A lot of them are going to $235. I can't confirm, but I'm pretty sure the Colisée is $250 an hour. I can confirm that, try to confirm that tomorrow. So we're right in line with everybody else in Southern Maine, and as far as I know, everywhere else except for the Colisée is the highest in Maine that I'm aware of.
So the $10 takes us to $230?
$235.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought. And then your comments about the advisory board. We've actually talked about two types of boards up there, and I do hope you'll seek some input from the city council since boards and committees are our authority, but two types. One, an advisory board, as you described. The other was a users group, and I wasn't sure, as you talk about reaching out to people, and both of those to me have very different purposes. Users group to me is much more focused on facilities and ways to operational, where advisory would take the broader. So I didn't know what your plan was and if you were going to reach out to the city or just handle both of those all by yourself.
No, I'm happy to listen to everybody involved on the user group, the advisory board. I'm open to suggestions. I have been meeting with some people that I feel would be a a large asset to the city, not just the arena, but their overall experience. But I'm open to both the council and city management on that.
Good. Those were my only questions. Thank you.
I just want to come back to refining some things in the plan. As I see, a plan exists to solve problems, solve issues. Obviously, our biggest issue here is the revenue shortfall. I don't know anything about running a hockey rink, and I shouldn't be in charge of running a hockey rink. I do want to be able to have the communication with our constituents, though, when it comes to isolating what the problems are, putting a plan in place to solve those problems, and then putting meat on the bones of that plan and solving the problems. So as I see this plan, it looks like it's isolating three main problems that exist in the status quo that you're now fixing. One is the shortfalls when it comes to sponsorship. Am I correct in that one?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a shortfall. I think there was a great start when I got here with how many sponsors they did have. It's an area that I think can be improved on and bring in a lot of revenue to the arena.
There were contractual issues, correct?
That is
with some
correct,
of the
yes.
sponsorship issues?
Yep.
Okay. And we feel like we're making forward progress on fixing those and also looking for additional sponsorships.
Yeah, I think we've made a lot of progress on correcting some past issues. There were a couple that just couldn't seem to mend the fence, so to speak, but I still think we're in a good place with those people. And we're definitely, like I said, working closely with the city manager to try and add some help to getting new sponsors and maintaining the existing ones.
So a second problem is, and problem is perhaps an imprecise word, but a second issue was that there were scheduling issues. We feel like we weren't maximizing the bang for our buck when it comes to scheduling.
No, absolutely. We made those adjustments starting in June or July. We left the existing schedule in place that was there. We didn't want to disrupt people, but we changed it this fall. We added over an hour a day per sheet of available ice to rent. We filled it, and to be honest, one of the small hurdles we're stepping over right now is getting our late night groups that actually don't want to skate late at night to go a little bit later, so we can add in a couple more high schools here. If we can accomplish that, we'll bring in at least another $40,000, $50,000 of ice rental income just in the peak season alone. You know, in Portland and Falmouth, people skate till midnight. It's tough selling ice at 10 o'clock up here. That's one thing I've noticed. It's a little different.
And is that going to lead to a carryover in the non-peak season? Do you think you're still going to be able to schedule the sheets as you'd like?
Oh, yeah, no, everything's going well as far as the scheduling. We won't fill both sheets in the off-season.
Right.
In July and August, we actually do need both sheets. So we'll ice out one sheet for April and May, put it back in mid-June, and that's where we're working on a couple fall tournaments to also help with the youth. In the Gladiator program, which is a major tenant, they've actually seen an increase in numbers in their organization, which will lead to some more ice time during the peak season.
And that sort of leads into the third issue, maybe maximizing programming so that it can be more of a year-round facility. Right?
Exactly. That's
So I see the figure skating component as one of those things. And as far as this plan is concerned, it's a little general as to the remainder. So are there other particular things that we're looking into as far as programming to make it a year-round facility?
Yeah, these are the programs that we're focused on right now. I don't want to have so many programs that they're not going to be well attended. So I want to concentrate, try to get these to be successful. They're fairly new to the area, and hopefully they do take off. So, and then we'll see where there are remaining gaps in the schedule, and that's where I think figure skating steps in. They're year-round, and once that figure skating club grows, they'll start utilizing some day ice as well.
And going ice out on one sheet, does that allow us to use the facility for other purposes, or are we planning on using the facility for other purposes?
If there was an opportunity to do so, we would. Norway Savings Bank has a couple of events scheduled. They actually don't need the floor, but they are doing a couple of events at the arena.
And we're exploring other possibilities in that direction
Yes.
as well?
Yeah.
And you'll report to us when you maybe explore.
If I get any good news on utilizing that floor, we've come up with some ideas. In Canada, it's really popular. We would call it floor hockey here. We thought about putting some nets out there, offering shooting camp, shooting skills on the concrete floor. So we're trying to come up with some ideas. that will
I'd be
take.
remiss if I didn't ask on my wife's behalf if curling might be a possibility.
We've been close with the curling club. We haven't heard back, but my information is telling me that they've come to agreement with Portland. They offered it up in Portland just as a temporary thing, and they have a waiting list. They were entertaining coming to Auburn, but I think with Portland offering them the ice, that's where they're going to end up staying for now. But we haven't
We're going
closed
to
the
keep
door on
paying
that.
attention to that
Yeah.
as another problem.
Yeah,
It's one vote.
He's got two.
it's pretty neat. I know city manager likes it.
They got nice houses that he can buy down in Portland, too.
It's
I would
becoming
rather
pretty
he take
popular.
His high Portland pay from the city and bring it here. Just one question for you, in terms of data, and I've had chats with both Howard and Dennis about how we aggregate data in the mall area to try to sell retailers. Have you thought of any model or perhaps seen models where there's sort of an annual census of the arena in terms of number of events, states and locations of patrons, weekends full, some capture, because obviously the folks that are coming from Canada or Massachusetts for the Lions tournament or the other tournaments you're building, or folks that are coming up on the weekends through peak season from the Portland market, those are folks who wouldn't show up on a typical retail survey for our area. Something for you to keep in mind, if there is a model elsewhere where arenas are aggregating some of their data and trying to have that snapshot, I think having that would be helpful as we try to help fill more of the retail and pad sites up by the mall.
Yeah, the economic development team has created a quick questionnaire to hand out to the businesses and retail. But it's,
Yeah, and I've heard about, I'm less interested in how many people are going through Buffalo Wild Wings than making sure you guys are capturing data as to who's going into your, because the collecting data on existing businesses is a way to sell the council that having the arena is still a good thing. I get the PR aspect. I'm more interested in how we collect data to sell to other retailers. I mean, the corporate folks that own Longhorn, that own Olive Garden, they're going to know based on the performance there whether this place has viability. It's the franchises who aren't here, whose site locators won't look at Auburn, that we need to show a hockey demographic with its income spread as making this perhaps more viable or tilting it over the balance.
yeah, no, I will definitely look into that. I know some other sports organizations that do that in the southern U.S. I don't know of any arenas in New England that do it, but I will reach out to contacts.
All right. Would any member of the public like to come forward and offer questions? As we have done before, we'll open the floor. We'll take all of the questions. This is not a workshop for the public. We'll take all your questions, and then we'll bring it back to the council for staff to answer any of the questions that have been asked. The floor is open. Name and address, please.
Tim Dowdy, 75 Cherryville Circle. Mr. Mayor, Council, are these gentlemen a subcontractor running the arena, or are these city employees?
Again, as I mentioned, if you want to ask your questions and lay them
Okay.
out, and then we'll.
I can wait 15 minutes and ask it in the public. I guess as a citizen who's footing the bill for this, I'd like to know the figures. We have a 300,000 shortfall. Well, is it 300,000, or, where's the P&Ls on this? This, when it was agreed to go forward to, was supposed to be a winner. And where is the funding coming from? Is it the general budget? Or is there a budget for the arena? That would be my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Elfrida Fournier, again, 43 Davis Avenue. I've written and had response from Jim Holden regarding time for the public to skate and time for school children to skate. And I believe I heard him say that it's been open to school vacations and school workshops. Well, I disagree with that, because the reason why I sent a letter to him is that it has not been open on days when there are workshops, and I've asked, could you please look at the school calendar and synchronize your school calendar, the school calendar, with your schedule, so that you can make it, announce it and make it available, so that during days when kids are home from school, that they can go and use that all day long, because I'm sure there aren't going to be teams playing, practicing during those days. So my question is, how are you going to go about opening this up to the public as much as possible? I know that we need to make revenue from teams because they bring in a lot of money, but although it's a small amount of money that the public brings in, we are paying for this. So my question is, how are you going to open it up to the public, especially dealing with school days, school workshop days, vacation days, summer vacation? Let's take a look at that and capitalize on that.
Bring it back to the council. Tim, would you like to cover that last question with respect to how you sort of manage public skate times in the midst of the business? And to Mr. Dowdy, the second meeting of every council, the second meeting of every month for the city council, there are financial statements provided in the packet, and those detail the full expenses and revenues for the arena. I'm sure staff could provide a copy. If you have not looked at the council meeting packets, could provide that. If you had specific questions, I'm sure staff could provide answers.
Yeah, we did make some mistakes with our scheduling. I said it when we were going over gap control, and I'll say it again. We've learned from the mistakes where we did not have those offerings during teacher workshops and vacation days. We tried to add some in, but looking ahead to next year, we're getting online with the school calendar, and they will be offered during those time frames. So we know we made some mistakes there, and we're correcting it, and they will be consistent offerings next year, starting this spring.
Ms. Eastman?